some people in this world are on the front lines of the struggle between good and evil, and some, like us, bear witness. I'm Therese Apel.
And I'm Nicole Kral. You may have heard us as we worked on stories and series about law enforcement and crime. And it's safe to say we've seen some of the best and worst of human nature.
We decided there's no greater honor than bringing you the stories of the men and women who seek out the monsters, who speak for the victims, and who put the pieces together on some of the biggest Mississippi crime stories of our time. Welcome to Investigation Homicide. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Investigation Homicide. I am Therese Apel. We are glad to have you here today. And I've got Nicole Kral with me.
Yay, I'm back. I feel like I've been gone for a century.
It feels like you've been gone that long.
I know.
For sure.
It feels good to be back.
Yeah. So where have you been?
I've been all over the world. Oh, not really. We went to Nashville last weekend because Adam had to work.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun because he's an attorney. And so he had a job to do. So we had to leave. And I just got to kind of hang out in the hotel room and chill and watch my trash reality TV. And I was all trying to get caught up on Love Island before the season finale.
Right.
But I had a good time. So we've just been rocking and rolling.
That's a good break.
I know. It was fun. It was a nice little 4 hours that nobody bothered me.
Nice. 4 whole hours.
Yeah.
Well, and our guest today is Lieutenant Mark Hodges from Oxford Police Department. We had Chief Jeff McCutcheon scheduled, but there were some conflicts. And so Mark stepped in the clinch with a great case that we can't wait to share with you. Mark, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We're glad to have you here.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I'm honored. Thank y'all for having me.
Sure. Well, so we generally start off just asking our guest a little bit about themselves. So tell us about your career and what brought you to where you are at Oxford PD right now.
Well, I was born and raised in Greenville. That's where I started my career back in 1999 with the Greenville Police Department. I moved up here to Oxford in 2009, and I've been here ever since. Throughout my career, I've worked patrol, of course, because that's where every officer has to start. I've done K9, SRO, SWAT, narcotics investigations, probably just about a little bit of everything that you can do. And then, fortunately, I've been able to move up to some type of supervisory capacity in the majority of those divisions. And right now I'm the lieutenant of investigations for the Oxford Police Department.
Great. Now, so one thing that I had talked to Chief McCutcheon about a while ago during the Jay Lee case is just the burden that some of y'all feel working in a college town, because people are sending you their children and being like, take care of them. Tell us about that.
That's right. Well, you know, I'm a father, of course. When you deal with anybody's kids, the way I grew up, you know, it takes a village, you know, so everybody's supposed to look out for everybody's kids. My youngest son is currently going to Murray State University up in Kentucky, you know, so he's a good 3.5 hours away. So I trust the people up there to take care of him, you know, when I'm not there, the police up there. So, a lot of parents, when they send their kids here, they expect us, you know, to look out for them. And sometimes when you deal with some of these cases that involve their kids, you know, they want to talk to you, and they appreciate it when you can give them comfort when they're far away.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, you know, with you working in the police department up there, you probably see a lot of crime that does circulate around either the university itself or the students there. I know they have UPD that does the stuff that happens on campus, but how much of your work is actually involving students as victims or as suspects?
When school is in session, our caseload can probably double.
I bet.
Yeah, we were all college kids once.
I didn't get in trouble with the cops that often, but I did in one case, did kind of run from them. So we'll talk about that another day.
On your feet or in your car?
Actually on our feet.
That's actually, you know,
yeah, there's
impressive.
a story behind that we'll tell one day.
I love it. I will say that I'm a pretty tough cookie when it comes to like police departments, me giving them my 5-star A+ rating. Oxford PD is just amazing. Every single time that we interact with you guys, come up there, everybody is so friendly and willing to just not they're of course serving and protecting, but they're just so involved. You guys are so involved in the community, and it seems that no matter where you are, you're just everybody is just kinda comfortable there, and I appreciate that.
So thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you. We do have a good department. We do have a good department. We are blessed. We've got a great community and great community leaders that support us as well. So
Definitely. Okay, so let's talk about this case. What we have here ultimately became a much bigger case than probably what you were called to initially. Start us off, and we're not going to name the suspect yet. We're going to kind of let it unfold as it did when you were investigating it. Start us off the day that this case opens, the day that you get the call. Um, what kind of call did you get, and where did you have to go?
well, it was July 25th, 2020. We're not far from 5 years,
Mhm.
5 years from this. Uh, my hair was a little browner. It was actually early in the morning. I was a detective on call, so I got called about this case, a burglary and an assault. So I responded to the scene. Once I made it to the scene, I was advised that the victim went to the ER, the emergency room, for treatment. Uh, I was advised that the living room window had been slightly left open by the officer that was on the scene, and that nobody had been outside the window, so that area was hadn't been contaminated. So, with the victim being gone, I started processing the scene, and outside the window, I found what appeared to be boot impressions in the dirt. So, after photographing the scene, collecting the evidence, and there was some DNA evidence that we collected from the scene. Uh, After I did that, I went to the ER to meet with the victim, uh, and to get her statement. She stated that she woke up to the sound of the dog barking, and there was somebody standing in her room by her desk. At first, she thought it might have been her boyfriend, and then she realized this isn't my boyfriend. Uh, and that's when she told him to leave. And then that's when the assault occurred, and she said that he left out the window, so that's what made the window important on this. That was his point of entry, point of exit.
So
Uh,
when you hear those details, is that unusual compared to other crimes that you usually investigate? I mean, does this stand out in your mind at this point?
what part?
Any, I mean, I guess when you talk about somebody breaking into a home and going into the victim's room and being there like that, is that
Yeah,
something
yeah.
that you see very often?
Most of our burglaries are they occur when the people aren't home. So this one being home, this actually changed the statute to a home invasion enhancement. And you definitely hate that, because that means somebody's there. That's they're definitely going to be traumatized by somebody breaking in their house. You waking up in the middle of night, you know, you're asleep, you're in your place that you consider your safe space, and somebody's invaded that. So that's definitely hard to hear somebody talk through that.
Sure.
So
Now tell us about the victim. How composed was she after what she went through?
she was definitely shaken up when I first spoke to her, but she was willing to talk. Uh, I mean, as far as being a victim, probably couldn't ask for anything better.
Mm.
And I say that because, as far as her willingness to cooperate, her attention to detail, her drive to help us solve this case.
Do you think that that helps expedite getting the guy?
Definitely, 100%, 100%. Because as we go through this story and I tell you the stuff that she did, you're going to be like, wow, you know.
It's always a great story when you have a victim like that that is able to kinda take control of their own. I mean, it sounds corny, but kinda take control of their own destiny,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
I'm
their
not
own
gonna be the
narrative,
victim.
yeah.
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 So what happens next? You've got her at the emergency room, you're finding out the details. What's your next step in the investigation here?
Let's see. Talking to her and talking about, I mentioned her attention to detail. I asked her to describe him, and she said he light skinned male, roundish face, facial hair, possible short hair because he was wearing a hat. Uh, 5'10", maybe 6 foot, not real short, not real tall. She said he's not fat, he's not skinny, he's got a muscular build, and she said he had nice boots on. And when I asked her what she meant by nice boots, she said snake. They look like they were snake skin. I mean, that's paying attention to detail right there.
Mhm.
That's what I thought when I read that was, I don't think that I would have the presence of mind in that situation to say, "Oh, snakeskin." That's
Yeah, or
definitely.
even think about it, or even after the fact, like, "Lieutenant Hodges, I wanna ask you a question, and you can tell me no. So I wanna go" because we're talking about the details that she remembered, I think it's also important to not take away from the experience that she went through, and how she got these details was very she w can I go over the details, very minimal details of what happened in that space, so that we understand the capacity of what she did honorably with how he treated her? With the pillow specifically?
Uh,
She was in the situation itself,
Yeah.
if you go look at it and if you find the court records and, you know, she the situation itself, we're just gonna say that it was pretty brutal, and, um, to even remember anything
Mhm.
with the way that she was treated and handled, I'm sure she was not just being assaulted, but coming in out of consciousness.
Sure.
And to come after that, like, as I was reading it, honestly not there's a lot to read, but it's pretty point blank, like,
Yeah.
but this one really got me for some reason.
The fact that she could maintain her composure enough to remember these details. Lieutenant Hodges, is that, I mean, I know we're talking about how that's unusual, but I mean, that really does make your case, doesn't it? Especially when you don't expect a victim who's been through something that traumatic to be able to remember those things.
yeah, yeah. That was amazing. That was one of the out of the cases that I've worked like that. That was probably the most attention to detail I've ever gotten on a case like that. And you'll see as we walk through this case, she remembers more than that. Uh, so
So tell us what comes next, because I know we're all going to this one specific thing, that kinda made the case, but what happens after you've gotten these details from her, she's remembered things like these boots, and she's been through something just, that most of us would kinda fold under the pressure. What do you guys do next?
yeah, definitely a traumatic experience.
Sure.
So talking about the boots, if you remember in the beginning, I told you it looked like boot prints outside. So that right there helps, just I guess build up the case a little bit more. Your things are starting to just slowly come into place for you to where things are kind of making sense. You feel like you've got something, you're on to something. The boot prints outside. She said boots, so you're like, okay, we've got something here. We're on the right track. Uh, so once I left the ER, it done got early in the morning. I was out there a while. So I contacted my supervisor at the time and updated him on this incident. And so we met at the Criminal Investigations Division. We reviewed the evidence, the photos that I took, the statements. And then we also discussed the possibility of this case being linked to another case that occurred 5 days prior on July 20th, 2020. In this case, The victim on this one advised us that she was sitting in her bed at her residence and that her bedroom door was about halfway open. She said that she was sitting there and the door across from hers cracks open and she sees a hand throwing pieces of clothing into her room. And these articles of clothing were bra and underwear. Uh, she said that she yelled for him to get out and that she called 911 as she was closing her bedroom door and locked it. She said that she heard movement in the room, heard the door shut, and then she didn't hear anything else. Once the officers arrived, they cleared that residence. The detective on call was notified, and he responded. As he processed the scene, he noticed that there was also a photo of the victim and her friend that was thrown in the hallway, along with the clothing. The clothing that we're talking about was scattered in the hallway and into her room. There were stains of an unknown substance on the photograph and some on the clothing as well. What
When you
what
Go ahead, I'm
what
sorry.
what brought my attention back to this case was the fact that the window in the bedroom directly across from hers, the blinds were bent and broken, and the window was unlocked and it was slightly cracked open too, just like the one in the case that we're talking about now. It's little things like that stand out to you and throw up a red flag that, hey, we might have something here. So we discussed that, and we decided that we needed to follow up with my victim. So a couple days after that, we followed up with her. She was able to recall more details about this incident, and so we asked her, would you feel comfortable working with a sketch artist to help us attempt to identify this guy? And she agreed. She was like, yeah.
Now let's pause there for a second because I want to kind of go back to this other victim. What's going through your mind too? I mean, the window is a huge thing, but when you realize that you've also got somebody who were these her bra and panties that he was throwing at
I
her?
have so many questions.
Yes. Yes.
So do you infer from that? Does it sound like he has been in her apartment prior to this?
Yes.
It's disgusting.
And it's terrifying.
That is terrifying. I don't know what I was expecting because the whole time while you're telling that story, I'm like, that's really bizarre. Like, if you got that call, I can't imagine being like what you would think. Hey, some random dude just came in and started throwing clothes at me and then left.
Until you realize it's your clothes
And
and it's
then
your
the
pictures.
and then you just never go outside again.
Never leave your house. Yeah. Okay, so you said that she says that she'll work with this sketch artist, and what do you have to do to get her there?
So we found a sketch artist in Tennessee with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, and he agreed to help us. So we picked her up one morning. We drove up to Tennessee. She spent about 4 hours with the sketch artist. And when they got done, he showed us the sketch, and I mean, the guy did an amazing job. And then once you see the suspect's photo later on, and you have it beside the sketch, you're going to be like, "Wow, very good job."
So let's take a look at that sketch, Daniel. Okay, so we're not going to talk about the suspect yet, just the sketch. So that's the sketch that they came up with, and this was something that we, of course, you look at. I remember as a reporter covering this case and seeing that and thinking, that's a heck of a sketch. That's you can already look at it and just be like, wow, that's they're going to catch somebody from that. What was your initial thought when you saw that, but you didn't know who your suspect was yet?
When I saw that sketch, I was like, "Wow, that's a good job." And then, just going off of, like I said, what she had described to us, when you're looking at that sketch, you're like, man, that I couldn't have done a better job,
That's a person.
Yeah, that was amazing. He did a great job for us.
I'm so fascinated by sketch artistry. because when that popped up in this case, I was like, "Damn, that's just something." Like it's like a lie detector tests to me. It's like I kind of just want to talk to a sketch artist and see if I can create you
Right.
just by describing you. I think that's
Right.
just such a cool talent.
Yeah, for him to sit there, for her to describe those features and everything, and
Yeah,
for him to draw it out there, that was pretty amazing.
it's so cool.
Well, and y'all had to go to Jackson, Tennessee for this.
We did.
Do was that the closest one or was that the best one?
That was the closest we could get.
Wow.
So, and he actually met us there. He wasn't from Jackson, Tennessee. He met us there. So
Wow. Where'd he come from?
I believe it was Nashville.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay, you've got the sketch, you've got an idea. Now, the victim, didn't she, at first, she thought she knew who this was. Talk to us about how you figured out that it wasn't.
Well, in the beginning, she thought it was her boyfriend, and she realized it wasn't him. Then she had thought it was somebody else, but she was like, once I got a good enough look, I realized it wasn't him either. And she was like, I did not know this guy.
Yeah, that's got to be probably the scariest. Well, it's not the scariest part. The whole thing is scary, but so how does that complicate your job when you don't have any? She doesn't have any idea who it is, so that makes it harder for you guys.
Yeah. So, like I said, we had DNA that we recovered from the scene. So we sent that to the Mississippi Forensics Lab, but it's not like it is on NCIS and all those shows. You don't get that turnaround within an hour. They have to do their job. So that was part of the process of trying to identify this guy. With the sketch, we got that. So we put that out on social media, asking if anybody had any ideas on that. We did get some calls, some tips on that. So of course you have to look into that, and you have to see if you're able to exclude people, which we did. Some were easy to exclude, some were not. You had to do a little bit more work. Some, we found out one guy was actually in prison during this time, so it was
Oh,
easy to exclude him.
I feel
Uh,
like when you see a sketch, everybody knows, everybody starts thinking, wait a second, that does kind of look like that guy that works down at the gas station, doesn't
Right.
it?
Right. You've
You
always got
always think of
somebody.
somebody, right? So I can't imagine how many calls you guys got.
yeah. So we did get several. We we even did some photo lineups with the victim and let her look at them. She just wasn't able to give us that 100% positive ID. This person could they look kind of like him. This person kind of looks like him. Uh, so we still had to walk through uh, parts of the investigation on that. We even sat in our conference room on both of these cases, since we were concerned that they could be linked. Uh, Theorizing, doing victimology, trying to determine, how they could be linked, why they would be linked, trying to figure out why, if they were linked, they were both targeted, to see if we could come up to find something that could help keep us moving along in this case. I mean, if you were there, you'd have saw we had the old pegboards. We had photos on it. We had strings, going from one thing to the other. I mean, we actually did some old school strategies trying to figure this one out, because it was a tough one in the beginning.
Now, what was the next step to getting you to, I mean, it's one thing to have a face, but you still don't know who that guy is. How do you figure out who that is?
Uh, let's see. We 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 ended up getting a call from the forensics lab, and they gave us an answer to a question that kind of makes you a little nervous. And that was, hey, the DNA from both of your cases is a positive match. These cases are linked. Your suspect is the same suspect in both of these cases. So that kind of makes you a little nervous now, because now you've got a guy that's done went into this house and committed this crime. And then he's also 5 days later went into another house and committed another crime.
Do you assume at this point that he may have done more than just this, and these are just the ones that have called police?
It's possible, and that's the type of thoughts that go through your head that can make you nervous.
So at this point, now you've got DNA. What leads you to the suspect that we know of now?
Okay, so we get the forensic lab. We request them to run the DNA through what they call CODIS, and unfortunately, at that time, the suspect's DNA was not in the system, so it wasn't giving us a hit. But we did get lucky. We received a call from a Union County Sheriff's Department investigator stating that they had several residential burglaries where the suspect had broken in the houses and stolen lingerie. Their investigation led them to some video surveillance of the suspect inside the residence, and they made an identification on the person. The victim of that residence actually knew the guy.
Sure.
And they told us that it was Wayne Fiddis Jr. They had arrested him, and they believed that he was the same individual wanted in our case because he shared the same method of committing his crimes. So using that, we did some further investigations, and we found that Fiddis had stayed in the area of both of our crimes. So that put the spotlight on him even more. So we got a search warrant, requested a search warrant for his DNA. So we went to the Union County Jail, got his DNA, and we sent that to the Mississippi Forensics Lab. And then, of course, after they get to do what they do down there, their process and their work, they call us up and say, you've got a match. That's your guy on both of your cases.
Wow.
So that was good news, you know. So then, of course, we draft our affidavits and our warrants, and we charge him.
So when you have a case where someone is stealing underwear, and then you have a case a couple of counties over where someone is stealing underwear, in your experience, how often do you have people stealing underwear, but especially coming back to leave the soiled underwear again with the victim? I mean, is this, when you have those two things side by side, do you just assume, even if you don't have the DNA, is it a straight line in that case?
We've had a case before of a person stealing underwear. I don't recall them doing anything, leaving the underwear behind like that with DNA in it. With him doing that, that's definitely concerning. And of course, it led up to the incident that we're talking about, which is horrible.
Yeah. So when you figure out this is your guy, how do you go about bringing him in? And did you personally questioned him at some point, or did he lawyer up right off the bat?
He was in Union County Jail, and we did not question him.
You don't need to when you have DNA.
Fair enough.
Did not question him. So he was given his paperwork, advised what his charges were. We never even offered to question him.
Did he ever deny it or confess to it or act surprised or anything?
Once we gave him the paperwork that he was charged,
At any point in time.
no, that was the only time that I saw him. Some of the
Okay.
other detectives, when they went over there to get the DNA, they advised him what they were getting the DNA for. But
Mm.
no, I mean, you've got DNA, you know. You've got it linked to another case. You've got him on video going into another house, doing the same type of stuff. So no, we never questioned him. We wanted to talk to him with his attorney, but we never got to. Uh, and yeah, he pled to this case. This case has been resolved.
When he was staying in Oxford, he was staying with, at times, several days out of the week, he was staying with some girls. Did you at any point have occasion to interview them or find out kind of what he was about, what he was like?
One of the other detectives, because throughout this whole process, the whole criminal investigation division worked on this. It was a team effort, even so. Another detective did speak to those girls. One of them knew him a little bit better than the other two, I guess. They met him just out and about. Throughout the interview with them, I think I know where y'all are trying to go on this right here.
Well, I actually was just curious, but if you know where I'm going, take me there.
I'm assuming it's that one incident in one of them's statement.
Oh, okay.
That yeah, he would stay with them. There were times, I believe, in their statement they said that they might not see him for a day, but he was where they stayed was right around the corner from the incident that I worked. And I think they kind of cut ties with him when one of them, he would stay at the house and he would sleep on the couch or he would sleep in the bed with one of them, but there was no relationship or anything like that. But one of them woke up one morning and he was actually groping her, and that's when she kicked him out of his house.
That'll do it.
Mm.
Okay, so here we are. You've got him. You've got his DNA, that kind of thing. When you kind of post game this case, what are you thinking about him as a suspect, as a person? Do you feel like he would have reoffended at any point?
If he wouldn't have been arrested,
yeah.
Do I think he would have done this again?
Yes.
Definitely. I do.
We can almost assume that in Union County, when he stole the garments, did he ever commit assault to those people?
That I don't know.
Either which way, we can probably assume that he either did or was gonna.
Right.
And they either, came together, I'm terrible, but or they were the next victims,
Sure.
And it was just a coincidence. And who knows at what point he took them and what point he was coming back. Or do you know?
The Union County incident, I believe, was after ours.
So, oh wow.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean.
So yeah, that's why I said I believe he would continue. That is my opinion.
Do we feel like at any point, I mean, is there any evidence that shows that he had been in our primary victim's house prior to the night of the incident? Like,
no.
was he previously entering these houses and then coming back later? Like, was this his second time in there?
For my case, no. We only think that he was in there that one time. That was his first time in that residence.
Is there any evidence that he knew the apartment layout or anything like that, or was she just sleeping hard enough she didn't hear him come in?
She was just sleeping hard enough she didn't hear him come in, apparently. So
It's nice when you can sleep that hard. I don't fault her for that at all.
yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. That's kind of foreign to me, but I know it happens to people.
Me. But yeah. I mean, so there was another player. Do we want to bring in the boyfriend?
Just talk about kind of his
Yeah,
reactions, I guess.
because I think he was there when you guys showed up to the apartment first, and he went to the hospital with her, and I think he was maybe the first point of contact for the police officers that were the first responders.
Yes.
Kind of how did he play into the
Her
case?
friend.
Yeah.
How did he act throughout the entire thing?
Well, I mean, he was definitely upset, you know, for your girlfriend to go through something like that, and especially you're not there. So
Did you guys do anything to rule him out?
we did, because like I said, we collected DNA at her residence, and with that being her boyfriend, we needed to get his DNA to rule any DNA that we find there out.
Fair.
So yeah, so we did need to get his DNA to rule him out. And he understood, he was cooperative, he was very supportive of everything that we needed to do. He understood. He was very supportive of her throughout this.
I thought it was interesting because in some of the information that I read, it talked about one of the detectives that interviewed them, or one of the officers on scene that had interviewed them both in a case where they were both agitated, and it was like they were kind of fighting, and this officer had made note in the notes that, like, okay, they were both acting a little strange, but what that said to me wasn't necessarily anything that pointed to anybody doing anything wrong, but just the stress that something like this, can put when you're in a situation where someone has been in your home, where someone has attacked you. You now have to deal with, like, my life is not the same now than it has been, and it never will be, because now my privacy's been violated in this way. But it was interesting to me just to read that in the notes, because it's you can read it for what it is. They were fighting, or you can just read, like, this is one of the things that a couple, or that people go through after a crime has been committed against them, and that's something you guys probably see a lot.
Occasionally, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess what for you on this case is the takeaway? Once you got him in place, once you've got him, arrested and he's convicted, and did he plead guilty or was he convicted?
No, he pled. He took a plea.
So once you've got all that in place, what's a takeaway for you guys after this case?
Well, it's just, you're thankful,
Just to kind of have gotten him out of the way?
Yeah, it's a criminal off the street. You feel like you've done your job. Justice, and then for your victim, and then hopefully closure.
Do you ever think about, and this is something that I think, when people are trashing cops, I just have to stop and think about a case like this. You don't know how many people you saved. It's kind of, to me, one of the takeaways for me is, we know this guy was starting to ramp up a career that, was going to be victimizing people, in a town full of, young women, and you guys getting involved and doing the right things the right way potentially saved who knows how many people from going through that. And your victim being so brave and so attentive and so able to step up to the plate in a way that, I mean, in similar situations, so many of us have not, or would not have been able to. It to me is is just a testament to both her and to what you guys have going on at OPD and your detective squad.
Yeah. We've had a good unit for years. People have come and gone. People have come and gone, but I will say the criminal investigation division has been a solid team for years. They do great work. So proud of them.
Should be.
Absolutely. We're both big OPD fans. We went up
Yes.
there to visit several times, and just I've always seen you guys do solid work like this. So, and it's good leadership, and it's recruiting the right guys and girls and that kind of thing. So I'm glad we got to tell this story for sure.
I'm in Oxford all the time. So next time I'm in Oxford, I'm going to knock on your door and say, hey.
Come
You
on.
haven't been to the new PD, have you?
I have not been to the new PD.
Come get you a tour. It's an amazing building.
Perfect. That sounds really good.
Yeah. So takeaways, Nicole, what's your parting thoughts here?
Man, stay vigilant, stay safe, lock your doors, lock your windows, get multiple dogs. Therese is fine. Therese is good.
Yeah.
And, it's really just kind of shows that no matter what, you never know what can happen. And I think if anybody listens to a story like this, that we can learn, just do your best, man. Like, there really isn't a right answer or a wrong answer, and everybody is going to handle it differently. And she did a really, really good job. And if hopefully it never happens, but if it does, and you listen to something like this, and now well, remember what kind of shoes they have, what kind of hat are they wearing, what do their, whatever, what color are their eyes? Is there anything you can pick up on?
Mm-hmm.
And the more and more you hear it, the more and more you can retain. And I think that that's just really important.
Well, and we had another guest several episodes ago. She is a detective or a sergeant. What is Sarah now? Anyway,
Lieutenant, mom.
Yeah. So our friend
Congratulations, Sarah.
Yes, just had a baby from Ridgeland Police Department. And she was talking about how she kind of tells people, practice these things in your head. Pretend in your head, like, if this happened to me, what would I do? And that kind of puts you in the right frame of mind, very much the same way you practice shooting your gun or that kind of thing. So to your point, you want to remember, but that doesn't mean that you will.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully, just if something like this happens to you, know that you can reach out to the police, and hopefully you'll have a team as good as these guys at OPD. Okay, Lieutenant Hodges, what are your parting thoughts?
I'm just humbled and thankful. Glad to have been a part of this with y'all. I appreciate y'all having me here. Appreciate the kind words, the opportunity to tell this story. What y'all are doing with this podcast. So y'all just keep doing what y'all are doing. We appreciate y'all.
Well, you too.
Yeah, we appreciate you too.
Thank you for being with us. And Nicole, thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be back. Like I said.
You want to close this out?
Yeah, sure. So if you guys will follow us on everything, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you can follow me. You can follow Therese, follow Investigation Homicide. You can download our episodes on any of your favorite platforms. If you'd like to be a sponsor, you can send us an email at investigationhomicide@gmail.com. You can buy merch. We have a link in our bio on all of our socials where you can buy merch. You can look at your episodes. You can see other episodes that are produced by Daniel Anderson with Audio Alchemy Productions. And they're all wonderful. So thank you guys for joining us. And we will see you next Thursday. Therese, do you have a guest?
We do. We'll be talking about a cult leader from back in the day in
to be continued.
Walthall County. Sorry about that, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.